Okay. Can we dim down the lights? So tonight, the word is hugelkultur, and it's pronounced hugelkultur. And it's basically mound culture. It was first published in 1962 in a German gardening book by Hermann Andre. He was inspired by the diversity of plants he saw growing in a pile of wood debris in his grandmother's garden, and so he thought, hey, I'm going to write about it. So hugelkultur has been practiced in Germany and East Europe for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Let's see. That'll give you an idea of what it is. This was promoted as a mound culture as opposed to flatland culture. It was also posted as an easy way to utilize wood debris without burning, which was illegal at the time. Hugelkultur is an old world approach to gardening that sees your raised bed and raises it. Rather than a flat top rectangle like the typical raised bed found in many American backyards, hugelkultur are giant mounds of earth built up with beneficial biomass. The heart of the hugelkultur bed is a fertile secret, the dead and decaying wood. As you see in A down there, you have branches and logs and all that stuff is at the base, and then you build up on top of that. It provides both structure for the bed and a steady supply of moisture and nutrients to the plants growing above. The additional layers used to build it up and insulate the wood core can consist of compost, manure, straw, leaf litter, grass clippings, food waste, and even material like cardboard. For hugelkultur, its a basic form is a mound constructed like a pyramid in about a 3x6 area, or it can go on and meander down through your property or on the sides of hills to help direct water and set up microcosms or micro. That word. Microcultures in your backyard. The hill, once you put it in, will reduce over time due to the decomposition process. For raised beds, you dig a trench and fill it with wood and place it. Then you put a container around it and then fill it in with layers of the organic matter and then top it off with topsoil. So here's kind of the mound subject with all the logs stacked on there, and then branches and sticks, plant waste, compost, and topsoil. The claimed benefits of hugelkultur, the wood in the system provides the main benefit, which is the retention of moisture. The wood absorbs water, holds it for a long time, and then slowly releases it to the plants around it and into the soil above, thereby reducing the need for irrigation. Some of the other claims are you no need to dispose of waste wood because you're using it to bury and build up your mound. No CO2 is produced by the burning wood. You have an increased surface area for gardening using a mound. And composting wood generates heat, extending the growing season. Here's a cross section where you fill it up with logs and then put all the stuff around it on top. And then the next one is 1 year after, 2 years, and then 20 years. It's pretty much all broken down. Per the Gardening Myths website, Robert Pavelis, the main claim in hugelkultur is that the buried wood absorbs water, which in turn keeps the hill moist so that irrigation is not needed. The author has his doubts about dead wood absorbing water, and anyone who has spent time enough camping in the woods knows that dead wood is always usually too wet to burn, even in a dry summer. And when wood is buried in the soil, it'll stay even wetter. But the claims that does this wet wood keep the soil above it even wetter and share its moisture with all around it, even though the hill on top may dry out, he doesn't believe that's the case. The author suspects the moisture from the wood is only part of the story, and that all the organic matter that you have piled into there is also going to retain quite a bit of water and help benefit. And compost holds the most water, and that will share with all the plants in your hugelkultur mound. With regards to the following, no need to dispose of waste wood. That's partially true, and proponents of hugelkultur make a big deal about this benefit. But the wood could be chipped up and used as mulch, or it could be just piled up and provide a habitat for wildlife and other small plants. The author doesn't think most gardeners worry about getting rid of waste wood. The other, no CO2 produced by burning wood. Burning the wood would release CO2, but decomposition is also going to release CO2. Burning does produce other toxic chemicals which make it a poor choice for disposal of wood, but the author is not convinced the CO2 angle is a valid argument. Maximizing the surface area. This is a valid point. If you are growing up the sides of a hill, there is more surface area to grow on, but there is only so much soil, so you can actually grow more plants. This probably depends on the height and the width of your hill. At least one side of the hill is going to probably get less sun no matter which orientation you use. There's another one, mound that meanders around, and some of the different types of material that would be used in hugelkultur. Composting wood generates heat that extends the growing season. Wood composts very slowly, so it will produce very little heat. A newly made hugelkultur hill contains a lot of organic matter, and this will generate some heat as it decomposes. But the decomposition of wood produces almost no heat. As any compost pile, the heat is generated when the pile is brand new. Once most of the easily composted material is partially broke down, the heat production slows dramatically. Since many recommend not using the mound right away, the benefits of an extended growing season due to heat generated from the mound doesn't seem to be a valid point. What does science say? Well, there's almost nothing that is written about, this technique, about hugelkultur. This is not a technique that has been studied by mainstream science, and most governments don't really consider it a valid gardening technique. But if you plug in hugelkultur on a search on your computer, or if you look at YouTube, you'll see hundreds of videos of everybody showing you, and expounding on what, the great benefits of having hugelkultur. Should you use hugelkultur in your garden? Hugelkultur is considered by some a very special type of gardening. It's almost a religion for some. If you look at some of the YouTube videos on there that I watched, there's quite a few. As the author was doing his research into the subject, it occurred to him that hugelkultur consists of two simple concepts: burying the wood to hold moisture, and then make a raised bed. Most gardening it also includes the concept of adding a lot of organic matter to the soil, but most gardening techniques do that. The author asked, does the wood add any value? Maybe, but maybe all the benefits ascribed to it are due to all the added organic matter. What if the wood was replaced by straw or aged manure, or left out completely? Would the pile work just as well? The complete lack of scientific research on this subject means that we can't really come to any conclusion. In a paper, Science-Based Use of Wood Material in Gardens and Landscape by Linda Chalker-Scott out of Washington University, she wrote, wooden organic matter is crucial to any landscape that has trees, shrubs, and other perennials. Wooden debris provides a slow release of nutrients for plants. It is also a food source to beneficial microbes and a habitat for beneficial insects. It's important to use woody material in ways that optimize these benefits. For most landscapes and gardens, woody material can be used to its best advantage on the soil surface where it would normally occur. Mulches are easy and inexpensive means to use smaller pieces of wood debris, such as an arborist wood chipper. Large pieces of wood debris include branches, deadfall, can also be used as shelter or nurse logs for smaller plants, or they can be used to create a frame for a raised bed or terraces on a slope or along a garden pathway by preventing compaction, erosion, and providing adequate nutrition. Wooden material uses as much as a mulch contributes to a sustainable soil building. So basically, after I've gone through all these watching videos, reading about it, it comes down to what should you do with wood? So if you have extra wood and you're making a new garden bed, throw it in, onto the bottom as a filler. It'll cost you less from, on the topsoil. I would recommend digging a trench first and keeping the wood below grade. Think of the wood just as another form of organic material. The one thing you have to look at is what wood should you use if you're going to bury it. Whatever wood you do, whatever's laying around is best, but there are a few exceptions. There's wood that is allelopathic trees that have a compound in their wood or bark that work as a natural herbicide and stop the germination of plants. Those include black walnut, black locust, black cherry, and pecan. Those will, kill plants off if you bury them, in your pile. The other types of wood to avoid are the rot-resistant type. Cedar takes a long time for a breakdown. Also oak types, redwood, teak, mahogany. All those are great, for using outside on your deck or on your boat or on patios, but but they last a long time. The woods you should be using are the ash, alder, beech, birch, cottonwood, Doug fir, elm, other fir trees, fruit trees, hickory, maple, pine, poplar, spruce. Problem with willow is you have to make sure it's dead. There are some trees that you have to let them dry out and make sure they're completely dead. Otherwise, if you bury them and they aren't all dried out, you're going to have a willow tree sprouting from your mound, and you'll have suddenly see that growing in your property. So that's the start of it. You get a bunch of wood, dig a trench, and then pile a bunch of organic matter, leaf debris, branches, food waste. There's talk of, that the wood is a good source of carbon, but the carbon needs nitrogen to help break it down. So putting on manure or the leafy greens and grass, that will assist the wood in breaking down and taking that nitrogen from those sources, and then as it breaks down, it'll turn into a sponge underneath and help your plants up above. And voila. That's it.